Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. Imagine holding a single small copper-colored coin in your hand. Something most people would ignore. Something that has passed through millions of pockets, cash registers, and drawers without a second thought. And yet this 1-cent coin, the 2001 Lincoln penny, carries a story so deep, so misunderstood, and in some rare cases so unbelievably valuable that it has shocked collectors, dealers, and even longtime numismatists around the world. This is not just another ordinary penny. This is a coin born at the very beginning of a new millennium, a coin struck at the Denver Mint during a time of massive production, subtle manufacturing changes, and hidden minting mistakes that quietly slipped into circulation, unnoticed for years, waiting for the right eyes to discover them. The 2001 1-cent coin represents a bridge between old and modern American coinage, carrying forward Abraham Lincoln's iconic image while being struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet that itself tells a fascinating story of rising metal costs and changing mint technology. The weight of a standard 2001 penny is approximately 2.50 grams, lighter than the older pre-1982 solid copper cents that weighed around 3.11 grams. And this difference alone is one of the first clues serious collectors use when examining pennies for rare, transitional errors. The core of the coin is zinc, making up about 97.5% of its composition, with a thin outer layer of copper that gives it the familiar warm color people associate with a penny. That copper plating, however, is also one of the biggest sources of dramatic and valuable errors, because when the plating process fails, peels, bubbles, cracks, or goes missing entirely, the result can be a visually shocking coin that immediately stands out even to an untrained eye. On the front of the 2001 penny, you see the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has been part of American history since 1909. Lincoln faces to the right, his expression calm, firm, and thoughtful, symbolizing unity, endurance, and leadership. Above his head is the word liberty, a fundamental American value, while the date 2001 appears to the right, marking the dawn of the 21st century. Just below the date is the small but critically important mint mark, a single letter D, indicating that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. That tiny letter is what separates this coin from its Philadelphia counterpart and plays a major role in rarity discussions when errors are involved. Beneath Lincoln's shoulder is the designer's initials, VDB, a subtle signature linking this modern penny back to its early 20th century origins. Turn the coin over, and you see the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The memorial is depicted with clean, sharp lines, and if you look closely, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a remarkable detail considering the coin's small size. Above the memorial is the phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, while United States of America and 1 cent frame the design. On well-struck examples, the steps of the memorial appear sharp and defined, but on weaker strikes, especially during high-speed production years like 2001, those steps can appear mushy or incomplete, which itself can sometimes add interest for collectors. Now, here's where the story becomes truly fascinating. In 2001, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies. The presses were running at incredible speeds, and when production reaches that level, mistakes are not just possible, they are inevitable. Some of those mistakes were minor and common, while others were extremely rare, dramatic, and worth far more than the coin's face value. Errors such as off-center strikes, where the design is shifted to one side, leaving part of the blank planchet visible, can range in value from tens to thousands of dollars depending on how extreme the offset is. Broad strikes, where the coin is struck without a proper collar and spreads outward, can show expanded diameters and distorted lettering, creating a coin that looks almost melted or stretched. One of the most desirable error types for the 2001 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a doubled impression during its creation, resulting in noticeable doubling on the lettering, date, or Lincoln's features. Unlike machine doubling, which is flat and shelf-like, true double die show rounded, separated images that are highly collectible. A strong double die on a 2001 penny can bring thousands of dollars, especially if the doubling is clearly visible to the naked eye and confirmed by a reputable grading service. Another jaw-dropping error involves missing or partial copper plating. Because these pennies are copper-plated zinc, if the plating process fails, the coin may appear silvery gray instead of copper. Some coins show streaks where copper is missing, while others are almost entirely zinc-colored. These errors can be extremely valuable, particularly when the missing plating is dramatic and covers a large portion of the coin. In some rare cases, the plating peels away over time, creating a curled copper shell that looks almost like the coin is shedding its skin. Then there are wrong planchet errors, which are among the most exciting and valuable mistakes in modern coinage. Imagine a 2001D penny struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another metal entirely. A penny struck on a dime planchet, for example, would be smaller, thinner, and silver in color and would weigh significantly less than a normal cent. These coins are incredibly rare and can sell for tens of thousands of dollars when authenticated. Collectors also hunt for rotated die errors, where the front and back of the coin are misaligned. When you flip the coin vertically, the reverse might be rotated several degrees or even completely upside down relative to the obverse. While small rotations are fairly common and not very valuable, extreme rotations can command strong premiums. Now let's talk about value, because this is where myths, reality, and extreme possibilities collide. In normal circulated condition, a standard 2001D penny is worth exactly 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, most examples are worth only a few cents to perhaps $1. However, when you introduce rare errors, pristine mint state grades, and unique characteristics, the value equation changes dramatically. Certified examples graded MS68 or higher by top grading services are exceptionally rare and can sell for thousands of dollars due to their near-perfect surfaces, sharp strikes, and original luster. There are stories circulating online about Lincoln pennies being worth tens of millions or even over $100 million. While no publicly verified sale of a single 2001D penny has reached $135 million, what drives these headlines is the idea of theoretical value, private transactions, combined collections, and the extreme premiums that could be placed on a one-of-a-kind error coin if it were confirmed to be unique. In the world of elite numismatics, rarity plus demand plus condition can create astronomical valuations, especially when wealthy collectors compete for ownership of something no one else can ever have. The historical importance of the 2001D penny lies not in a single famous event, but in what it represents as a product of mass modern minting. It shows how technology, speed, and scale can create both uniformity and chaos at the same time. It also represents the transition period of American coinage, where traditional designs continued even as the materials and methods behind them changed significantly. For treasure hunters and everyday people, the excitement comes from the possibility that a coin sitting in a jar, a drawer, or a pocket could be something extraordinary. The idea that a single cent could change someone's life is powerful, and while most pennies will never be worth more than face value, the hunt itself keeps collectors searching, learning, and paying attention to the smallest details. When you examine a 2001D penny, you're not just looking at copper and zinc. You're looking at history, craftsmanship, industrial power, and the human element that allows mistakes to happen. Every error tells a story of a split second where something went wrong, and that moment of imperfection is exactly what makes the coin special. And as the story of the 2001D 1-cent coin continues, the deeper you go, the more you realize that this small piece of metal is not just a product of machinery, but a silent witness to economic pressure, technological evolution, and human oversight. At the time these pennies were being produced, copper prices were rising steadily, forcing the United States Mint to rely heavily on zinc cores with thin copper plating to keep production costs down. This decision alone created a fragile balance in the minting process, because even the slightest malfunction in plating thickness, bonding temperature, or handling pressure could result in coins that looked nothing like what the mint intended. Those imperfections were not caught immediately, because with billions of coins being struck, quality control focused on speed and volume rather than microscopic perfection. Collectors who specialize in modern Lincoln cents often say that the 2001D penny is one of the most underestimated coins of the entire series, precisely because so many people assume modern coins cannot be valuable. That assumption is exactly what allows rare error coins to survive unnoticed for years in circulation. Some of the most valuable modern errors were discovered not by professional dealers, but by ordinary people sorting change at home, rolling coins for banks, or metal detecting in places where pennies had been lost decades earlier. Point one particularly fascinating error associated with the 2001 D penny is the split planchet error. This happens when the zinc core separates into layers before or during the striking process. The result can be a coin that looks cracked, torn, or partially missing material, almost as if it were damaged after minting, when in reality the flaw occurred at the very moment the coin was born. These split planchet errors can look dramatic and are often mistaken for post-mint damage, but when authenticated, they can command prices ranging from hundreds to several thousands of dollars depending on severity and eye appeal. Then there are die cracks and cut errors, which occur when the die used to strike the coin begins to fracture from stress. A die crack appears as a raised line on the coin's surface, while a cut error shows up as a raised blob of metal where part of the die has broken away entirely. On a 2001 D penny, these errors can appear anywhere, from Lincoln's portrait to the lettering to the edge of the coin. Large cut errors, especially those that intrude into the design and are visually obvious, are highly sought after by collectors because they represent the literal breakdown of the minting tool itself. Another subtle but important area collectors examine is the edge of the coin. A normal 2001 D penny has a smooth edge with no reading, but edge errors such as partial collars or improperly formed edges can reveal problems in the striking chamber. In rare cases, coins escape the mint with distorted edges that appear wavy, thickened, or uneven, signaling that something went wrong during the strike. The market for error coins is driven not only by rarity, but by storytelling. A dramatic error with a clear explanation tends to attract more attention and higher bids than a subtle flaw that requires magnification to appreciate. This is why off-center strikes, broad strikes, and missing plating errors often outperform more technically rare but visually boring mistakes. The 2001 D penny, thanks to its high mintage and modern construction, offers a wide spectrum of error possibilities, making it a favorite among collectors who enjoy the thrill of discovery. When it comes to grading, condition is everything. A 2001 D penny preserved in pristine mint state, with full original luster and no contact marks, is far rarer than most people realize. These coins were often stored in bulk bags, where they banged against each other, picking up tiny scratches and nicks. Finding one that survived without damage is like finding a perfect grain of sand on a crowded beach. This is why top-grade examples certified by professional grading services can bring astonishing prices, even without dramatic errors. The idea of a penny being worth millions may sound impossible, but in the world of ultra-high-end collecting, value is not always tied to logic or metal content. It is tied to uniqueness, provenance, and desire. If a single 2001 D penny were discovered with a combination of multiple major errors, such as a wrong planchet strike combined with a doubled die and a dramatic off-center strike, and if that coin were confirmed to be one of a kind, its value could theoretically soar into the realm of private treaty sales where numbers are negotiated behind closed doors. This is where figures like $135 million enter the conversation, not as everyday auction results, but as speculative valuations based on extreme rarity and elite collector interest. History has shown that collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums for coins that represent something no one else can own. The emotional drive to possess a unique artifact can override all traditional pricing models. The 2001 D penny, because of its modern status and massive production, paradoxically becomes even more exciting when a unique example surfaces, because it proves that rarity can exist even in the most common places. For many people, the real value of the 2001 D penny is not measured in dollars, but in knowledge and curiosity. Learning how to identify errors, understanding minting processes, and appreciating the history behind everyday objects transforms spare change into a treasure hunt. Each penny becomes a question mark, a possibility, a tiny mystery waiting to be solved. As years pass, fewer high-quality examples survive, and fewer undiscovered errors remain in circulation. Coins are lost, damaged, melted, or discarded, slowly reducing the population of collectible specimens. This gradual disappearance adds another layer of scarcity, especially for coins that were never meant to be saved in the first place. So, when you look at a 2001D penny, you are looking at more than a cent. You are looking at a snapshot of American industry, economics, and design at the turn of the millennium. You are holding a coin that has traveled through time quietly, blending in with billions of others, yet still holding the potential to surprise, educate, and in rare cases, transform lives. As we move even deeper into the hidden world of the 2001D 1-cent coin, the narrative expands beyond metal and machinery and enters the psychology of collectors, investors, and everyday people who unknowingly handle potential rarities. What makes this particular penny so intriguing is not just what has already been found, but what may still exist undiscovered. Because pennies are often overlooked, stored casually, or spent without thought, error coins can circulate for years, sometimes decades, before being recognized for what they truly are. This delay between creation and discovery is what gives modern Lincoln cents, especially the 2001D, their unique sense of suspense. One of the most misunderstood aspects of penny collecting is surface appearance. Many people assume that discoloration, rough texture, or unusual patterns automatically mean damage. But in the case of the 2001D penny, some of the most valuable pieces look strange precisely because something went wrong at the mint. Improper alloy mixing in the zinc core can cause uneven toning or bubbling beneath the copper plating. When light hits these coins at certain angles, they can show ripples, shadows, or blister-like formations that are not the result of corrosion, but rather trapped gas or weak bonding during plating. Collectors also pay close attention to strike quality. During high-speed production, the metal sometimes does not fully flow into the deepest recesses of the die. This can leave weakly struck details, especially in Lincoln's hair, the memorial steps, or the lettering. While weak strikes alone do not always add value, when combined with other anomalies, they can contribute to a coin's uniqueness and desirability. Another rare but fascinating phenomenon associated with the 2001D penny is the mule error, where mismatched dies are used, resulting in a coin with an obverse and reverse that were never intended to be paired together. While no widely publicized mule involving the 2001D penny has been confirmed, the possibility itself fuels collector imagination. In modern minting facilities, dies are carefully controlled, but human error is never completely eliminated, and even a single slip can produce a legendary coin. Then there is the topic of repunched mint marks and anomalies related to the mint mark itself. Although modern mint marks are generally part of the master die rather than being punched individually, subtle variations can still occur due to die wear, polishing, or damage. A distorted, filled, or unusually shaped D-mint mark can indicate an issue with the die that may increase collector interest, especially if the anomaly is consistent across multiple coins from the same die. The market dynamics surrounding the 2001D penny are influenced heavily by online communities, auction platforms, and social media. A single viral post showing a dramatic error can spark a surge of interest overnight, sending collectors rushing to check their change. This collective attention can temporarily inflate prices, but it also increases awareness, leading to more discoveries and better documentation of known varieties. Over time, the market stabilizes, separating truly rare coins from those that are simply unusual. Professional authentication plays a crucial role in determining value. With so many altered coins and false claims circulating online, grading services act as gatekeepers, verifying whether an anomaly is genuine or the result of post-mint damage. A certified 2001D penny with a major error carries far more credibility and market confidence than an uncertified piece, no matter how impressive it appears at first glance. The fascination with extreme valuations, such as figures reaching into the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, often stems from the human tendency to dream big. While most collectors understand that such prices are speculative, the possibility alone keeps the narrative alive. It reminds people that history is full of unexpected discoveries, and that today's pocket change could become tomorrow's headline. Beyond monetary value, the 2001D penny serves as an educational tool. It teaches patience, observation, and critical thinking. It encourages people to slow down and look closely at the world around them, finding interest in objects that are usually dismissed as insignificant. In this way, the coin's greatest worth may lie in its ability to spark curiosity and connection across generations. As time continues to pass, the context surrounding the 2001 penny evolves. Future collectors will look back on this era as a time when billions of coins were produced rapidly, yet only a handful stood out as truly exceptional. Those coins will carry stories not just of minting errors, but of the people who found them, studied them, and preserved them. And so the story of the 2001 1-cent coin continues to unfold, shaped by discovery, debate, and imagination. Each coin examined adds a new data point, a new possibility, a new chapter in a narrative that proves even the smallest denomination can carry immense significance. The journey does not end with what we know today, because as long as pennies exist, and as long as people continue to look closely, the potential for discovery remains alive, waiting quietly in the background, ready to surprise the next person who dares to pay attention. And as the story continues further, the 2001 1-cent coin begins to take on an almost mythical reputation among modern coin hunters, not because every example is valuable, but because the line between ordinary and extraordinary is so thin that it can be crossed by a microscopic detail. This is what keeps people searching late into the night, magnifying glass in hand, slowly turning each penny under the light, hoping to catch that one unusual reflection that signals something different. One of the least discussed but highly important aspects of the 2001 penny is die deterioration. Because the Denver Mint was producing enormous quantities, dies were pushed to their limits. As a die wears down, the design elements soften, distort, and sometimes shift slightly. On some 2001 pennies, this results in what appears to be extra metal around letters, distorted numbers in the date, or thickened lines around Lincoln's profile. To the untrained eye, these may look like damage or poor quality, but to an experienced collector, they tell the story of a die that was nearing the end of its life. Die clashes are another fascinating phenomenon. These occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. The result can be ghostly impressions of design elements appearing on the wrong side of the coin. On a 2001 penny, this might mean faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial appearing on Lincoln's face, or traces of Lincoln's portrait showing up on the reverse. While light die clashes are relatively common, strong and clearly visible clashes are much scarcer and far more valuable. Then there is the subject of strike-through errors, where foreign materials such as grease, metal shavings, or debris comes between the die and the planchet during striking. This causes parts of the design to be missing or distorted. Grease-filled dies can result in missing letters, incomplete dates, or smooth patches where details should be. Some 2001 pennies exist with entire portions of the design absent, creating an almost abstract appearance that fascinates collectors. The economic environment of the early 2000s also plays a role in the story of this coin. Inflation pressures and rising metal prices meant that pennies were increasingly seen as a burden rather than a necessity. Discussions about eliminating the 1-cent coin were already happening, which adds an ironic layer to the idea that a penny from this era could be worth extraordinary sums. The very coin many considered obsolete became, in rare cases, a treasure. Another layer of intrigue comes from hoards. Occasionally, large quantities of coins from a specific year and mint surface all at once, often from long-forgotten storage. When a hoard of 2001 pennies appears, collectors rush to examine them, because hoards sometimes contain clusters of errors from a single die run. These discoveries can reshape what is known about a particular issue, revealing previously undocumented varieties. Technology has also transformed the way collectors interact with coins. High-resolution photography, digital microscopes, and online databases allow collectors to share images and compare notes instantly. A unique 2001 penny discovered in one part of the world can be analyzed and discussed globally within hours. This interconnectedness accelerates discovery but also raises standards, as claims are scrutinized more closely than ever before. The emotional aspect of coin collecting cannot be ignored. For many people, finding an unusual penny connects them to childhood memories of saving coins in jars, searching through change with parents or grandparents, or learning history through everyday objects. The 2001 penny, as a modern coin, bridges generations, linking the past design of Lincoln with the present reality of mass production and digital commerce. In the realm of high-end collecting, speculation often fuels imagination. While most 2001D pennies will never be worth more than face value, the possibility of a unique specimen keeps the dream alive. This dream is not about guaranteed profit, but about the thrill of discovery, the satisfaction of knowledge, and the idea that something extraordinary can be hiding in plain sight. As years turn into decades, the narrative around the 2001D penny will continue to evolve. New errors may be discovered, old assumptions may be challenged, and values may rise or fall. What remains constant is the coin's ability to captivate those who look beyond its small size and humble denomination. And moving even further into the depth of the 2001D 1-cent coin story, the conversation naturally shifts toward the hidden lives these coins have lived, because every penny carries not only a minting history, but a circulation history as well. After leaving the Denver Mint, these coins traveled across the country in massive bags, entered banks, stores, vending machines, and pockets, and over time, many of them were scratched, bent, stained, or worn down almost to smoothness. This harsh journey is exactly why truly high-grade examples are so elusive today. A coin that survives this process with sharp details and original luster is already uncommon, even before considering errors, where patterns on circulated 2001D pennies tell their own story. Lincoln's cheek and jawline are often the first areas to lose detail, followed by the hair above the ear and the bow tie. On the reverse, the steps of the Lincoln Memorial wear down quickly, sometimes disappearing entirely. Coins that retain full step detail and crisp lettering after years of circulation stand out immediately to experienced eyes. Even without dramatic errors, such well-preserved examples can command attention simply because they defy the odds. There is also a subtle difference in color that collectors watch for. While most 2001D pennies appear bright red when new and turn brown over time, some develop unusual toning patterns. Streaks of red, purple, or even bluish hues can appear due to environmental exposure or chemical reactions in the copper plating. Natural toning, when attractive and stable, can add desirability, while artificial toning is usually frowned upon. Distinguishing between the two requires experience and careful observation. Another important factor is storage. Many pennies from this era were stored in plastic tubes, bags, or even wrapped in paper rolls. Improper storage can cause zinc corrosion beneath the copper plating, leading to swelling or surface roughness. Coins that avoided these conditions and remained stable over decades are increasingly difficult to find. This scarcity contributes to the rising interest in certified examples, where condition is preserved and documented. The idea of rarity is often misunderstood. A coin does not need to have a low mintage to be rare in a collectible sense. The 2001D penny had an enormous mintage, yet truly exceptional examples are rare because survival rates in top condition are low. This concept of conditional rarity is central to modern coin collecting and explains why seemingly common coins can achieve impressive prices. Market trends also influence how the 2001D penny is perceived. As older classic coins become increasingly expensive, collectors often turn to modern issues in search of value and excitement. This shift brings renewed attention to coins like the 2001D penny, encouraging deeper study and more discoveries. Each new find adds to the collective understanding of what exists and what might still be out there. Another intriguing element is the role of dealers and auctions. When a significant 2001D penny error appears at auction, it sets a benchmark for future sales. Even a single high-profile transaction can redefine expectations and spark renewed interest. Private sales, which are often confidential, add another layer of mystery, as details may never be fully disclosed to the public. The emotional high of discovery is something collectors often struggle to describe. Finding an unusual coin creates a moment where time seems to pause, where curiosity turns into excitement and possibility. That feeling is at the heart of why people continue to search through coins long after logic suggests the odds are low. The 2001D penny, because it is so accessible, offers that feeling to anyone willing to look closely. As more years pass, the narrative surrounding this coin becomes richer. It is no longer just a modern penny, but a representative of an era, a symbol of mass production balanced against individual uniqueness. Each surviving example adds a tiny piece to a much larger puzzle, one that collectors will continue to assemble for generations. And now, as this long journey through the world of the 2001 D1 cent coin reaches its most powerful moment, everything begins to come together in a way that feels almost poetic. After all the details, the errors, the history, the speculation, and the countless hands that have held these pennies without ever noticing them, what remains is a simple but profound truth. Value is not always obvious, and importance is not always loud. Sometimes it sits quietly in your palm, small, brown, and easily ignored. The 2001 D penny represents a paradox of modern coinage. It was made in staggering numbers, yet within that ocean of identical pieces exist a few that are fundamentally different. Those differences were not planned, not advertised, and not celebrated at the time of minting. They happened in fractions of a second, when a machine hesitated, a die cracked, a planchet slipped, or a layer of copper failed to bond properly. Those moments of imperfection created coins that now carry stories far greater than their face value. For collectors, this penny is a reminder that knowledge is the real treasure. Anyone can spend a coin, but only someone who looks closely can recognize something special. The skills developed while searching for errors, weighing coins, studying surfaces, and comparing details are skills that sharpen patience and attention. Over time, those skills transform the way people see not just coins, but the world around them. The idea of extreme value, figures like $135 million, may exist mostly in imagination and speculation, but imagination itself has power. It motivates people to learn, to search, and to believe that extraordinary discoveries are still possible. History has proven again and again that rare objects are often found in ordinary places, and the 2001 D penny fits perfectly into that tradition. As technology advances and fewer people use physical cash, coins like the 2001 D penny will gradually disappear from daily life. That disappearance adds weight to their story. Each surviving coin becomes a small artifact from a time when money was tangible, passed hand to hand, carrying invisible traces of countless lives. In the future, collectors will not just see a penny. They will see a symbol of an era. The true legacy of the 2001 D1 cent coin is not measured by auction records alone. It is measured by curiosity sparked, by hours spent searching, by conversations shared, and by the quiet excitement of finding something unexpected. It reminds us that even in a world of mass production, individuality still exists, sometimes hidden in the smallest details. The next time you find a penny on the ground, in a drawer, or at the bottom of a jar, pause for a moment before dismissing it. Turn it over. Check the date. Look for that small D mint mark. Feel the weight in your hand. Because within that ordinary object lies the possibility of something rare, something meaningful, something that connects the past, the present, and the future in a single cent, and that is the real power of the 2001 D penny. Not that it might make someone rich overnight, but that it teaches a timeless lesson. Never underestimate the smallest things, because sometimes the greatest stories are written on the tiniest pieces of metal, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to notice them.